Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and with the release of the new iPhone 16e, many people are saying you should just upgrade to the iPhone 16. But I thought we'd take a look and see which one would be best for you, so we'll compare everything from the display to the overall battery life, reception, and much more. Now, with the iPhone 16e, this is the least expensive iPhone Apple offers now, starting at $599, going up to $899, where the iPhone 16 starts at $799 and goes up to $1,099. Both offer 128 gigabytes of storage as the base option, and then you have 256 and 512 as additional options. The iPhone 16e comes in black or white, and the iPhone 16 has some much more vibrant colors. Not only do we have black, but we also have blue, green that I'm holding here, as well as white and pink, all very vibrant colors. When it comes to the overall design, well, we have glass front and back, and with the latest phones, we have the new generation of ceramic shield, but Apple did not include that with the iPhone 16e. We have the last generation, which typically doesn't seem like it's a big deal. However, it does seem more prone to scratching. When I used the iPhone 15 Pro models for a year, and then I switched to the iPhone 16 Pro, they definitely have less scratches just from day-to-day use. Of course, you could use a screen protector, but either way, it seems like it's much harder to scratch. The overall frame is aluminum on both of them, and you can see that here, but we have a more squared off edge on the iPhone 16e, where on the iPhone 16 it's rounded to the overall front and back. So it looks really nice. Both of them are fine, but the iPhone 16e is a little bit easier to hold, but the iPhone 16 is more comfortable to hold. Of course, if we go around the outside edge, both of them offer the action button as well as your volume buttons. On the top, we don't really have anything there. And then on the right-hand side, we have a power sleep wake button, but on the iPhone 16, we have the camera control. This allows us to open up the camera, zoom, and do things like that. However, I don't find it personally very useful. Some people really like it. I typically find that I just quickly open the camera with it. As far as the overall weight, well, the iPhone 16e is ever so slightly lighter. It's 5.88 ounces or 167 grams, where the iPhone 16 is 6 ounces or 170 grams. When it comes to the overall connectivity, well, on the bottom here, we have USB-C. Of course, we have our speaker and microphone as well. So we do have USB-C. It's basically the same on both. When it comes to the specs, well, both have the A18 chipset and 8 gigabytes of RAM. However, the 16e has one less GPU core. We'll take a closer look at that in a little bit. When it comes to battery life, well, the iPhone 16e has a larger battery at 4,005 milliamp hours, giving it up to 26 hours of video playback according to Apple. The iPhone 16 has a 3,561 milliamp hour battery, up to 22 hours of video playback, 4 hours less. And this is thanks to a couple different things. Not only the battery, but the new C1 modem, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And when using these regularly throughout the day, I find that I get a little bit more battery life with the iPhone 16e. Typically, I'll end the day and still have 20 to 30% of my battery life left. You'll see if we let it load here, take a look at the last few days since I've been using it full time. I had 2 hours and 2 minutes of screen on time and used about 50% of the battery. Depending on the day I was using this, I was easily getting through the day. But with the iPhone 16, I found that I would have to plug it in toward the end of the day. So I find I really get much better battery life on the iPhone 16e. Not as much as the 16 Pro Max, but definitely more than the iPhone 16. And when it's time to charge your phone back up, today's sponsor ESR has the fastest 15-watt MagSafe chargers. And as the first brand to make the wireless MagSafe Car Charger, ESR features Qi 2 and Cryo Boost technology. You can fully charge an iPhone 16 Pro in only 1 hour and 48 minutes while using GPS navigation as well, where other Qi 2 chargers stop at 90%. Thanks to ESR's patented Cryo Boost technology, it helps keep your phone cool while charging to not only help when charging, but also prolong battery health. It also uses 18 N52 magnets to provide 16 G of holding force. It doesn't shake and it doesn't fall. And even on bumpy streets, your phone will stay secure. The mounting clips also securely hold it to vents or to your dash or windshield. The ESR 3-in-1 MagSafe charger also features the same Cryo Boost and Qi 2 compatibility, and even charges your Apple Watch and AirPods at the same time. With the iPhone 16e, be sure to check out their new cases that add MagSafe, and they allow you to use MagSafe accessories in charging. Unfortunately, the iPhone 16e, not having MagSafe built in, only allows a maximum of 7.5 watts wireless charging, but you can use MagSafe with ESR cases in place. Be sure to check out the latest chargers from ESR in the description below. Now, when it comes to the displays, the iPhone 16e has a 2532 by 1170 pixel resolution at 460 pixels per inch. However, it only goes up to 800 nits of brightness with regular use and 1200 nits of HDR. Of course, it has the notch and no dynamic island. With the iPhone 16, it's 2556 by 1179, again at 460 pixels per inch, but it's much brighter at 1000 nits for regular use, 1600 nits HDR, and a peak of 2000 nits outdoors, and goes down to a 1 nit minimum. This is much easier to see outside when compared to the 16e in bright sunlight. There's a definite difference there, and it really makes a big difference if you're outdoors a lot. I would go with the 16 just for the brighter display. They both operate at 60 Hz, so there's no change there. And when it comes to PWM, they both have PWM. That's the way it controls brightness by flickering the display faster or slower. However, I'm not sure if it's actually different, but I do find that the iPhone 16e seems to provide a little bit more eye strain than the iPhone 16. I'm not sure what the changes are, and I don't have the correct equipment to use it, but I can only talk to using it regularly, and I find it very straining on the eyes. The 16 is not that great either that way, but it definitely is much easier to look at for some reason. When it comes to the cameras, well, the front cameras are identical, 12 megapixels, f1.9 apertures, but the rear cameras are definitely different since we have one on the 16e and two on the iPhone 16. With the 16e, we have a 48 megapixel f1.6 Fusion camera that allows for 2 times telephoto, but doesn't have any macro, no spatial photos, no ProRAW, no stabilization, and also can do 4K 60 Dolby Vision HDR video. However, it doesn't have cinematic mode, action mode, macro, or log footage. The mics, however, should be similar to what we have with the iPhone 16. With the iPhone 16, we have a different sensor that's a little bit better on the iPhone 16 with the 48 megapixel f1.6. We also have an ultra-wide 12 megapixel f2.4. Now with the iPhone 16, because we have the ultra-wide, we have macro, but we don't have the Pro modes like we do with the iPhone 16 Pro, such as ProRAW or ProRes Video. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some photos and videos and see how they compare. This is the forward-facing cameras from the iPhone 16e and the iPhone 16. Both are the same at 12 megapixels, and they're both the same aperture. As far as the overall look, well, they both seem to be similar as far as dynamic range. You can see in the sunlight here, and as I move across, it definitely seems to handle it about the same. As far as the microphone goes, well, they should be similar. They both have all the new modes with studio and in-frame, and in general, I think they look pretty good. They should be the same as the Pro as well. Let me know what you think looks best and sounds best in the comments below. Now, both also have the option for Apple Intelligence, everything from the new Siri, along with visual intelligence, but that's accessed either by the action button or from a shortcut within Control Center on the iPhone 16e, or you can do the same thing by pressing and holding on the camera control on the 16. So you want visual intelligence, you've got writing tools, as well as image playground. So if you want to use that, you have the option on both devices. So if you want to create something, you can simply create it and it will make that for you. So a party in a forest, maybe a top hat, and give it a moment and it should create that. And you'll see that here. So you'll have all the options with iOS 18, iOS 19, well into the future with maybe even iOS 25. When it comes to connectivity, we have Apple's all new C1 modem. This actually turns out to be really great, and I have great connectivity overall. However, it's not leaps and bounds better, but it's much more efficient, giving us better battery life. So it is better in the sense that I stay connected longer. I've had 0 dropped calls, and I find that sometimes it does seem to drop in the areas I would drop with the regular 16 as well, or the 16 Pro. So that's just a low signal area. However, in regular use, I find that it does seem to stay connected a little bit better. We also don't have millimeter wave because of the new modem. Maybe they'll add it in the future, but we don't have it with the 16E. And we also don't have Wi-Fi 7 or 6E. We do have Wi-Fi 7 with the iPhone 16. That shouldn't be a huge difference, but if you're actually using a Wi-Fi 7 router in the future, you'll notice the difference if you're downloading a huge file. Otherwise, you won't notice at all. Both of them feature crash detection, satellite services, and IP68 with a depth of 6 meters up to 30 minutes. So both very capable that way. Now, as far as overall speed, well, the speed is very similar, just using it day to day. We do have some stutters thanks to the latest versions of iOS 18. I'm not sure why they haven't refined it yet, but things such as scrolling seem to be fine, and you'll find the experience to be mostly the same. As far as benchmarks, they are slightly different. So if we go ahead and take a look, you'll see on the iPhone 16, we have slightly higher scores with the multi-core score at 7,900 compared to 7,895. I think the biggest difference is if you take a look at the GPU speeds. So I ran both of those benchmarks as well, and let's take a look. Now with the GPU scores having one less GPU core, the iPhone 16e is definitely a little bit slower. 23,974 compared to 27,962. So how that shows in real world is probably in video games, maybe editing 4K video. But if we go ahead and open Minecraft, I just installed the same version. You'll see here, we'll go ahead and allow, ask not to track, give it just a moment here, and we'll go ahead and load. So we're at the same screen, tap confirm. We'll get out of the sign in and tap get started. And we'll go back. Let's see what we've got here. Get started. And let's go into creative on both. We'll go ahead and select and see how quickly it loads. So they seem very similar as far as this goes. Now, it's not necessarily a super intensive game, but this gives you an idea of what it does. So again, it's still loading. The 16E was a little bit faster this time. So we don't really know exactly what causes that, but when you're using it, you're going to have a very similar experience. I really don't expect much of a difference here as far as using it regularly, even though it has one less core. If we go into things such as Safari, so let's go to, we'll go back here. I haven't been on here in a while. There we go. We refresh. Let's go into learn more. You can see the overall speed is basically the same using it with regular things such as, let's see, view in AR. Let's see how quickly this takes. We'll go into augmented reality, which again takes quite a bit of power and no problems whatsoever. Now, as far as heat, the iPhone 16e is getting a little bit warmer than the iPhone 16. So there's definitely a difference there. But overall, they seem to be equally as fast when using them day to day. Now, as far as which one you should choose, well, that comes down to a few different things. Of course, if the notch or dynamic island is a big consideration, well, you'll probably want the dynamic island. The displays, again, the iPhone 16 is better. When it comes to battery life, if that's your number one concern, well, the iPhone 16e is better. So I think that's probably the number one area, if they were the same price, that if you want better battery, go with the 16e. However, if you want the better phone, go with the iPhone 16. It's got thinner bezels, as you can see here with the display. The display is brighter. The only downside really is battery life and maybe a little bit of connectivity, but that really depends on your carrier and where you are throughout the world. So I would say the 16e is really hard to recommend unless you only maybe get it for free or you care most about battery life and don't care at all about the camera. Everything else about the iPhone 16 is better, including MagSafe inclusion and much more. So it's really odd that Apple released this at $600. If this was $500 or $450, this would be an easy choice. However, at the current cost, with things being similar and seeing some really great deals from carriers such as T-Mobile or AT&T, the iPhone 16 usually is free. So all things considered equal, go with the iPhone 16 and then just plug it in or maybe get a battery for the back or something else. Otherwise, it's again very hard to recommend the 16E. They're both good phones and both will get updates for the near future, well into the future, at least probably 5 years. So hopefully that helps you decide which one is best for you. Let me know which one you picked up and why in the comments below. And of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.